Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Cornerstring. I hope you're fit and doing fine. This video is specifically created for the job aspirants who are looking to build out their career in data analytics, financial modeling, MIS, or maybe the day in day out reporting processes. So all the questions which are covered in this video are well handpicked after a lot of consideration, making it relevant content from the job interview perspective. Okay, let me set the expectation with you guys. I'm going to cover here 10 questions. 5 questions are practical one and 5 questions are subjective one. So after solving one practical question, I'm going to ask one subjective question, and you can feel free to type your answers in the comment section below for my later review. All right, so without further ado, let's get started and solve our first problem of the day. So guys, the first problem is that find the number of the calls answered in the output table using input table 1 and 2. So there are two tables. One is the input table 1, second one is the input table 2. All right. Note, no changes are allowed in input tables or output tables, and there should be one formula which can be used in cell H6. All right, and drag down to other fill other cells till H10. Okay, so we need to explicitly mention here one formula which can be further dragged down to H10 and we can get the results. Okay, so input table 1, it contains employee ID, employee name, and the calls answered by each employee. And the input table 2, it contains the login ID for those employee and their employee IDs as well. Okay, now here the problem is that in the output section we have the login ID which is in the input table 2. So 14 underscore Suresh, 13 underscore Mahesh. So we have 14 underscore Suresh in the input table 2. All right. However, the answer which we are supposed to get here is in the calls answered, which is in the table 1. Now which formula or function we can use in the particular problem to get the answer. So it's very straightforward. When we are searching or when we are looking up for kind of the information, there are formulas which we can use in the Excel, such as the VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, index match, or XLOOKUP, right? But we will go with the very popular function here, which is called as the VLOOKUP. Okay, but the problem is that after solving the 14 underscore Suresh, we will be getting only the employee ID, right? But we are interested in getting the calls answer. So one particular solution to this question can be, so for example, let's go with the first approach that we are going to pass here the 14 underscore Suresh to the lookup value, and we are going to pick this table, input table 2. And guys, you know that how to actually make it free so that your absolute referencing doesn't get mixed up. So that's the reason actually from B12 to C16 I have used the F4 here and make it frozen. Okay, now the next thing is, what is the column index number which you would like to choose? So I'm going here with the 2 and then true or false exact match. So I'm just passing here 0, which means the exact match. Okay, or else you can just press the false as well, but I'm just keeping it simple. So till here we are getting the employee ID for 14 underscore Suresh 14320. Now half of the problem has been solved because now somehow we are able to get the login ID 14320, which is equally available in both the tables, in my output table as well and in my input table 1 as well. Now what if I use the 14320, which is the employee ID, to pick the information from the input table 1, which is called as the calls answer? Let me make it simple for you. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use here the VLOOKUP. Now the new lookup value will be the answer which we have achieved by using the first VLOOKUP, right? So I'm saying here VLOOKUP 14320, which is the employee ID from the input table 1, and the table array this time I'm going to use is from the input table 1. All right, making it frozen again. So what I need to do, function F4 or F4, right? And in this way we are making it an absolute referencing, right? And now the calls answered is in my third column, right? So we look up employee ID, employee name, calls answered, which is in the third column. So I'm going to press here 3 and then again 0. All right, Let's press the enter button, and for 14 underscore Suresh, employee ID is 14320. So I'm going to the table 1. 14320 is the employee ID for which we are solving the problem. Let me just color code it. Suresh Ghosh is the employee name, and 90 is the number of the call that has been answered by this employee, and we're also getting the 90. But now here the problem is that we need to have only one formula in the cell F6, right? So how we are going to make this these two formulas into one, how we can transform this? So by the formula merging, I'm just copying here the first formula we have used here and then passing it here as in the H7, right? And combining both the formulas into one, which is called as the formula merging feature in the Excel. Okay, hit the control enter button, and now I'm copying this particular formula of one formula here, integrated formula, and then just using the enter button here, now dragging it to the other specific cells as well, and you will be able to get your answers, right? So 90 is the call for the Suresh Ghosh, and let's test for the another one, Rajiv here, Rajiv Kulkarni, that is 60. Yes, absolutely 60. And for the Krishna as well, Krishna Roy, 10672 is the employee ID, and 80 calls has been answered by this employee. So we have done the spot checks as well, and now this is the final formula we have used. So this technique is known as the double VLOOKUP. All right, now coming on to our subjective question. So please tell me that what is one major limitation of the VLOOKUP function? So fastest fingers first, please type your comments in the comment section below. Moving on to the second question, that is count all the names starts with SA using function. So we have specifically, few names here. So let's say that in this scenario we have total 8 counts, but maybe the employee name can goes up to like 10,000 or maybe 1 lakh of records. Now the question is that we need to count the names which starts with SA using the function, right? So how we will be able to do that? So guys, first thing is that in order to count, we have the functions such as the count, count a, count blank, count if, count ifs, right? But basically the question asks, we are going to use here the count if, because we know that we have only one criteria here, which is the name should start with the SA, right? So count if is the function which I'm going to use here, passing here the range. So my range is this one, making it absolute. So function f4 or f4 is the shortcut, and the criteria here is that the name should start with the SA, right? So you know that in the Excel we have the wildcard, right? So this time I'm going to use here the wildcard, which is the star asterisk mark. Okay, so inside the codes I'm mentioning here that the name should start with S and A, and after that whatever the number of words or number of alphabets text is used, we are not interested in, but the sentence or the name or whatever the text, it should be starting with the SA, right? So SA asterisk mark wildcard star means the length of the text can be like 8, 10, 15, 20, 100, whatever it is, right? But the name should start with the SA only. So that's the reason we are going to take here the help of the SA star. Okay, so my range is from B30 to B37, and the criteria is SA star, which is the wildcard. We are going to take the help. Now hit the enter button. So we got the 5 result here. So let's compare it on to eye to eye match. Sanam, Samir, Sanchit, Sachin, Saransh. Absolutely. So in the end, we are getting these 5 results, and this formula is completely dynamic, guys. Let me type here Cornerstring, right? And you will be able to see that the answer has been replaced by 4 now. So this function is properly working in a dynamic way. Now coming on to the subjective question, uh, tell me that how many wildcards are there in the Excel? Star asterisk is one of the wildcard. What are other wildcards we can use in Excel? Okay, moving on to the third question. From the data, find the maximum number of amount against the list of employees, right? So we have the employee name, we have the amount, maybe the transaction amount or maybe anything, right? So the question is that from the data, find the maximum number of amount against list of employees. So we do have one validation list here, which contains the unique employee names, starting from Abhishek, Rajiv, Submit, Sanchit, Nagendra, XYG. All right. So the problem is that, let's say that I'm just filtering out it for Abhishek Singh this time. So for Abhishek Singh, there are multiple amount values that is actually stored in this table. Now the problem is that we need to find the maximum one here. So which you can see that 640 is the max, 691, this one is the maximum, 691 is the maximum amount for Abhishek Singh, right? So the problem is that for the Abhishek Singh employee name, what is the maximum number that has been used in the particular table? Okay, so this formula should be completely dynamic. Let's go with the Abhishek Singh. So guys, you know that somehow we have to use the max function here, and max function, let me show the syntax to you. So you pass the number to it. So for example, let's go with a very straightforward, very simple ask here. So in this particular range, 749 is the maximum value which we got in the end, right? 749 is the maximum value. But with the max function, this time we have to use the condition as well, right? So if the name is Abhishek Singh, if the name is Rajiv Kumar, if the name is Submit Ghosh, right? If the name is XYG, then what is the maximum value against those? So for that, we can conclude that we need to use here the max and the if, right? So let's say that I'm going to use the here the if condition. So if condition now, but this time with the help of the arrays. Okay. So what I'm saying, in this particular range, this is my proper this is my criteria range, right? So let me make it absolute again. From this criteria range, the value should be this one. What is the value that is stored in the G52? This time it's for Abhishek, and let's fix this value as well. Okay, so from this logical list, that is the B50 to B81, and the value, if it's G52, whatever there is the value, now against that we need the maximum value. So this one will be the maximum criteria range that we are going to pass here. From C50 to C81, these all are numbers, these all are values. All right, so making it this one as freeze, right? So till here we have typed here the if condition. If B50 to B81, which is my criteria range, and criteria is G52, which whatever the name it's mentioned here in G52, this time it's Abhishek, and the maximum range values we need to get from the C50 to C81. Okay, till here we are good. But now the condition is that we need the maximum value, right? So let me use here the max function, and then within that max function we are going to pass this one. Okay, and this is a completely array function, guys. So you know that we need to end this function by using the control shift enter. I repeat, guys, control shift enter is the shortcut to encapsulate the array formula. Okay, so control shift and then enter. So this time for Abhishek Singh, 691 is the value. So we have already highlighted this value 691. So we know that our answer is correct. But whether it's working in a dynamic way or not, let's test it out. So let's test for Sanchit Kumar, and the value is appearing as 625. Uh, let's do the spot check for Sanchit Kumar. Right. So the maximum value is 625, and that's exactly the value which we are getting in the end. Now the time for the subjective question is that what all kind of the errors, you know that hashtag value, hashtag num, right, hashtag na, these are the errors which we get actually in the Excel. So what all those kind of the errors which if error function handles, right? So what all those kind of the errors if error function handles, you need to mention in the comment section below. Now fourth question, the practical one, is find the sum of largest 10 numbers from the data. So we have some random numbers here. Okay, now the problem is that we need to find the sum of largest 10 numbers from this particular range of data. Okay, so in totality we have 32 numbers here, but out of this 32 we want first condition that we need sum, second condition is that we need the large, and the last one is that we need the sum of 10 large numbers only. We are not interested in other numbers, but we need the sum of 10 large numbers only. Okay, so guys, you know that how actually large function is works. We do have like two functions here, large and small, right? So I'm going to use here the large. So let's go with the problem here. We need to pass here the array. Array can be called as this one. This is the particular array which we are going to pass here, making it absolute. Okay, and k means the nth largest number which you would like to see from this array, right? So if I would like to see the first largest value in this particular array, so that's the reason I have passed here 1. So I'm getting here 110348. In the same way, if you would like to see uh, the fifth largest, so you need to pass the 5 here. Okay, so now here you are getting the fifth largest value in this particular range. But the problem is that we need to sum the largest 10 numbers from this particular range. So how we are going to use it? One very simple thing can be that we know that we have to use the sum, right? And we have to use the large as well. Now passing the range till here, the things are very simple, right? And let's press the this one to make it absolute, freeze it. Okay, now from b86 to b117 we have mentioned the range, which is an array. Now here the thing can be either we can use the traditional method, or a very simple kind of a thing, that every time we are passing this function and then going down. Okay, and then here we can type here the 2, we can type here 3. This is something which an Excel beginner would do, right? Just going it here again and then giving it here 4 and then 5, right? So this is a lengthy process, however you will be able to get the results. But what if like you have like 10,000 plus number of the values, and the ask is that you need to sum the 100 last numbers, right? So you cannot go manually and then try type here 1 2 3 4 5 6 to up to n values, right? So we need something concrete here. We need something a dynamic formula, a proper encapsulated formula which work in a dynamic way, right? So how we can do this? So one way is that you can just manually type here 1, then semicolon 2, then semicolon 3, semicolon 4, semicolon 5, 6. So we need the values till 10. So we need to pass this in this way, right? So what is this like? So this is an again an array list like which we have passed here, that whatever those values which are actually in the b86 to b117 range, out of those value we need the largest 10 values. So one, so what this function will do, this function will go and pick the first value, then the second value, then third value up to 10, and then it will sum it, right? But again, coming back to the problem, that what if like we have 10,000 of the records and we want the sum of the largest largest 100 values, then you cannot manually go and type 11 12 13 14 15 16, right? However, this will give you the answer. This will give you the answer. Let me uh, you know okay, there's some problem here. What we have done, all right, I've not actually this should be in the calibre, this should be in the curly braces. Okay, so 933,878 is the final answer that we have already uh, got from using this function. But making it more comprehensive or easy one, so guys, you know that we have the row function in the Excel, right? So what actually row function it do, whatever the so for example, let's say I'm giving it a reference here, row b90. So the answer, what this will actually give us, this will give us 90, right? Row function is very important when you create the VB macros. When you create the VB macros, you should be knowing how many rows are there, how many columns are there, and you have to combine these rows and columns in the offset to make your VBA code more dynamic one, right? So I'm not going into that nitty gritties in this video, maybe some other time. But row is the function which will give you the proper row number of particular whatever the cell you have provided to it, right? So row b90 will give you the row 90. Okay, and what is indirect, guys? So guys, indirect, for example, let's say I'm going to pass here that whatever the value is in the b90, so indirect will go and give us that value. Now let's combine the row and indirect together. So is equal to row, and then combining here the indirect function, and then I'm using here the 1 2 5. So this proper formula, what it will do, it will give us the 1 2 3 4 5 in the rows. Okay, what I mean, see, 1 2 3 4 5. So with the help of this formula, row, indirect, and then in the quotes 1 to 5, it's giving us the 1 2 3 4 5 values appearing from row 91 92 93 94 95, right? So that's how actually we can use the row indirect in Excel. Okay, let me use the same here in our formula. So for example, this time we are not going with this approach. However, instead of this one, I'm going to use here the row and then my indirect, and then within this indirect, what I'm going to pass here, the top 10 values. So that's the reason 1 to 10 here within the quotes, and that's it. Control Shift Enter is the must mandate thing in order to close the Excel array formula. Okay, so here we are getting the again the same number 933878, and we have already saved here the last number 933878. So this means that our answer is 100% correct, and by this method we have resolved this problem as well. You would like to see, so we can just sort the values from largest to smallest this time. Let me do this. Okay, continue with the current selection and top 10 values 9 10. So 933878, exactly the same which we have, you know, used here. Okay, now time for the subjective question here is that what is an array? Simple question. What is an array? Please, fastest fingers first. So you need to type your answers in the comment section below. Coming on to the fifth question. So add the mentioned text using function Pepsi Drinks Limited, and the answer should be Pepsi, then hyphen, then drinks, and then limited with the dot in the end. Okay, so guys, you know that what is the functionality of the concatenate. Okay, concatenate, this concat or this actually combine two or more text, right? So we are going to use here the concatenate for sure, but in the other way, we also have to use here the proper function, right? So what actually is the role of the proper? So for example, if I'm writing proper here and then just passing this value, so this will actually give me this result. P in the capital letters and others are in the lowercase. Okay, so that's the functionality of the proper here. Okay, so we know that we can get the Pepsi as well, and then we can get the drinks as well. And for the limited LTD, we can use here the upper, right? So upper, what it will do, the moment you will give it the text, this will actually return you all the alphabet used in that particular text and return it in the caps lock, in the capital letters. Okay, so now let's use the function here. So first of all, we need to use the proper. So because we want the Pepsi to appear, the first alphabet should be in the capital letters. So proper C122. All right, then concatenate. So for the concatenate within the function, we can use the end function as well, right? And we need this one. So that's the reason I'm putting this in the quotes, because whatever the text we are actually concatenating, we have to provide that thing within the double quotes here. And the next one is that we need the drinks as well. So again, using here the proper and then passing here the text, which is the drinks. And the next last one is the limited. So for the limited, we need the space as well, right? So guys, to create the space, again, I'm just passing it here within the quotes and then concatenating this one with the last one, that is the limited. So for the limited, I'm going to use here the upper. Here is the upper and passing the text again, and then let's close it. So we have solved this problem as well. Pepsi Drinks Limited, exactly the same, right? So now the point is to the subjective question. So which function remove the unwanted spaces from the text? Okay, so for example, if I have this text like corner string and there are some spaces here, right? Right, so there are some spaces here. So what is the function in Excel which remove the unwanted spaces from the text? Okay, so with that we have reached up to the end of this video. You can support me and my channel in three ways: by sharing it with your friends, by liking the video now, and by subscribing to my YouTube channel. So with that, I take a pause and we'll see you in my next video. Till then, take care, happy learning, bye bye.